よく映画などに登場しますが、簡単に言うとどのようなものでしょうか？
Was just finishing eating up some cake. How close are you guys to finishing? We're so close. I think you probably should finish up then. You can always just watch the VOD to see what happens. Just finish up your... Yeah, if you're so close, you know? I think it's probably good to wait, I would think.
複数の人格を持つことによる逃避と考えられています。
Oh, so this is the doctor of her. We haven't been reading... Oh, really? Okay.
多重人格は逃避の一つなのですか？
You let me know, then, overall. I stayed up until 6 a.m. reading it. So what's surplus? Did you stay up until, 9? We've been stopped since morning. I see, okay.
さようです。そのメカニズムは完全には解明されていませんが、精神を守るために脳が行う防御行動の一つではないかと考えられています。
Yeah, you guys will have to let me know, tomorrow. What do you think of it?
例えば、貧乏な人がお金持ちになった自分を想像するという
Surplus went to church and I
現実逃避ってありますよね。
Damn, Surplus, you went to church after staying up all night? Have you gone to sleep at all?
極論はできませんが、講義的にはそう解釈できます。つまり、誰にでもあり得る現象なのです。
He's a holy man, damn.
その現実逃避の見境がなくなると二重人格になるのですか？
Stop reading when it was 10:45. Wow, that is crazy. I applaud you guys for that.
ちょっと難しいですね。
Yeah, but you're not, 5 hours behind Surplus.
否定する説もあります。諸説紛紛です。
Like, you're at most 2 or 3, I would think. You're 3 hours behind, yeah. So it's like almost 8 then for you.
では、精神医学の世界ではまだ多重人格というのは未知の解明されていない現象なんですか？
So Surplus, have you not slept at all then? And Diana, when did you wake up?
残念ながらそうなります。今後の研究が期待されます。
でも二重人格なんてなんだかかっこいいです
It's
よね。
sort of cool having a
ど
split
ういう人が
personality.
二重人格になれるんです
What are you
か？
talking about, reporter? Like, this is not only is it not professional, but what type of question is this? Took a 2-hour nap just a bit ago? Damn. Hope you're able to get to sleep early tonight then, which I guess you should if you finish Higurashi.
なれると言いますか、なりやすいと言いますか。最近の研究では遺伝と死因が複雑に絡み合い、中でも幼少期の育児体験が
Childhood
大
abuse.
きく作用するのでは
Diana07
ないか
watched
と
10
言われてい
consecutive
ま
streams
す。
and sparked a watch streak.
そういえば、この A 君も家庭に問題を抱えてるんですよね。
Person A? Is this someone who died?
7つの人格を持つ青年 A。
Okay, no, this is just... Okay, wait, a professor. I just realized,
で
okay.
は VTR の続きをどうぞ。
Fell asleep to river monsters. What are river monsters? Let's watch a video of him?
ですがその前にコマーシャル。
Even though I put them out today. How difficult is it to bring them in? Okay, well, I guess we'll never know. At the 7th Mart. It's some show where a guy finds really cool freshwater fish. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I think I do know of that. What fish did you remember if you fell asleep watching it? The 7th Mart was a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. The show ended because there's no longer any unique freshwater fish to find. I guess maybe unique enough to show on TV, or like unique enough to meet the criteria of river monsters. Why is Keishi's mom not talking? What is this, Keishi? So many! There's no reason to get all the different kinds, is there? I flopped all the different colored cup noodle bowls into the cart.
最近のカップ麺は凝ってて種類も多いんだよ。
Surplus of stupidity watched
どれも
10,
一通りは食ってみたいし。
watched 10 consecutive streams and sparked a watch streak. Wow. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Keiichi, buy them in the big case. It's cheaper. Dad faltered. Every large or notable freshwater fish, yeah. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Welcome back to Pirate Horror. Wait, what's going on? It's the tip of them going to the supermarket. Now that Dad had thrown his hat into the ring, I'd have to
じゃ
compromise.
あ一種類しか食えないよ。飽きちゃうって。
I was resisting as a formality. How do you even do that? How many seasons of the show are there? But I mean, if the show is just about getting through... Wait, so every single freshwater fish, is that including those in other countries and all that as well? I had already given up inside. I wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. I'm unsure. If it's in every country they couldn't find it, that would be crazy. 2 seasons for the main 8 visual novels. Like, you're talking the questions and answers you're talking about? If you can't pick, then mommy will pick for you. I did not feel comfortable saying that. Okay, okay. You don't have to rush me. I quickly searched the cases of noodles for what I wanted. Pork, bone, and ginger. Large cup? Hey, Keisha, you can't get a more normal one? If I let my mom pick, she'd err on the side of safety and get soy sauce or salt flavor. So when I plonked a large box of pork flavor into the shopping cart, Mom looked back to me with an expression I have to say, these ones? To show her this was my last compromise, I began explaining the
豚
choice.
骨はうまいんだよ。大盛りだけど大味ってわけ
How
じゃ
are
な
you
いし。
doing, Ruben, by the way? I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Rena. I rewound the situation, searching. But of course, I couldn't find her. It lasted for 8 years. Okay, about, like, slightly more than one season a year. I think that makes sense if you were to travel around, at least to different parts of the US, and, you know, actually finding the fish and all that. Which go and Sosu. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I have work tonight, so we'll see how much I can get through today. I will have to go at around, like, 6:10 or so. So in about 50 minutes, but we'll see. And was she spying at me from my blind spot? I go through the sound and presences again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way, and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror, unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom. But there was that presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was, realizing it now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. But listening to that moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat. Pip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. While I was running, the sounds of those barefoot footsteps going pit-pat were right behind mine. Me running around gleefully. I like eggnog. I'm an enjoyer of it, I would say. I don't hate it. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite thing, but I like it. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. I didn't think I'd heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That's why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run any faster than I'd ran at that time. I couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before. Not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That's why it made no sound. That was all. After that time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move. As if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pit-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible. Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved. So you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. So you shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet that sound echoed in the darkness once again. Is this a dream he's having? The hair on the back of my neck pricked up on end. It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move, like how the presence was moving behind me? I quickly realized. I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time. But I needed to turn around immediately. Pumpkin spice eggnog sounds like it would taste good. Pumpkin spice, it's weird, like, that's a flavor. Because, like, you know, what does it mean for pumpkin to be spiced? Like, how did that flavor become a thing? It's very interesting. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain-like needle being stuck into my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. Well, he's unable to vocalize it, right? So I turned around. At first, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What is this? Just as a person's mouth might bite into an apple, slurp the juices, and finally discover that it was an apple, my mind began to process the scene before my eyes by eating the apple. Munch, munch, chew, chew. Slurp the juices and discover the apple. Meaning what was in front of me was... What was in front of him? Oh! Read all the tips in Onikakushi! Wait, that means this is the end. This is the last chapter. Okay, we might have to leave off part way. And then tomorrow we might have to start off stream... with something else. We might have to start off stream with this and then swap to something else, so we'll see. It's me the whole time. No, Diana, why have you done this? Why would you traumatize Keiichi? I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in a panic all night. I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on top of the futon I used to barricade my door. Waiting, watching, just in case someone tried to break in through my window. If I left this spot, someone would break through the door, sending the futon flying and attack me. But if I just stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. If sleep meant taking the risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better just to stay awake. At some point during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside. But that was it. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek out through the curtains. Brenna was gone. I couldn't see her anywhere no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time. But I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started soon. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. There's no way you go to school in this situation. I definitely would not be. If my parents were not there, and that just happened, I am not going to school. I'm not leaving my room. Other than to make breakfast, I guess. Because I'll probably be starving since I didn't have dinner. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable. So staying holed up in here was probably my safest option. But staying here wouldn't solve anything. Uishi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he, nor my parents. Unless I found some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes just like I did every morning. Dude, is she gonna be like on the wall or something? I don't know. I regulated my breathing and regained my senses. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set their trap for me. But that didn't mean I was just going to twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take note of the plates of any car that drives by. If I see someone suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they drew their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I would have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. Alright, let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please, lend me your strength, and entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. If I didn't want to run into Rena or Mion, I needed to leave now. The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the entryway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it with the police, or the phone call and everything. My parents came back and saw this while I was at school, I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'd be wasting time if I cleaned it up right now, and considering what would happen if I ran into Rena or Mion, it wouldn't be too late for me to clean up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to go to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maebara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me. Okay. He's just walking? I spent the morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Rena arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Rena said nothing about last night, as if it never happened. But I could see that those events were real by the wounds carved in her fingers. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that the bandages were from hurting herself in the kitchen. Though it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Uishi-san shared about Rena's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Rena as a cute, ideal girl. It was Mion. I had already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised.
ミオンか。わかってるなら放っておいてくれよ。俺は甲子園で忙しいんだ。
Gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. Then I gave the bat an even larger swing, tacitly keeping Mion from getting any closer.
ケイちゃんさ、ちょっと休憩。
I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a
ホーム
rest.
ルームまであとちょっとだろ。もう一汗かかせてくれよ。
I swung the bat even harder as a sign of my
ケイ
refusal.
ちゃんって野球好きだったっけ？
最近好きになった。
最近って昨日から？
わかってんなら聞くなよ。
あれまあ。
I like Mion as well. I still think she's my favorite character so far.
スポーツマンにしては爽やかじゃないお返事だことで。
気が散る。放っておいてくれ。
I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Normally she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this. But Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I didn't sense any hostility. For some reason there are JoJo's references? Did I miss it? Where? Well, we were at school, in plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or is that too naive? In 5... Oh, okay. I guess JoJo is a cultural phenomenon. Excuse me. So I guess it makes sense. Excuse me again. Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out.
何か用なんだろう。なんだよ。
Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around me. Or around
用っ
me.
てわけでもないけどさ。お疲れのようなら後にするけど。
今でいい。
I'm only dealing with you right now because I judge this situation to be safe. Talking to you alone and away from others? That's out of the question.
さ。
Miyano was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words, but unlike Uishi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Miyano was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. Then she gave a hearty laugh to break herself out of that mire.
おじさんダメだわ、こういうの。ボキャ品は辛いわ。
なんだよ、突然。言いたいことがあるならはっきりと言えよ。
やめてよ、素振り。
She cut straight to the point. Her request was so frank I didn't understand it for a moment. I'd already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I?
ちゃんとやめてるだろ。
じゃなくて、今日で終わりにしてほしいの。悪いけど。
It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat? Didn't have the new anime everyone watches for it either. Yukishi just read the manga, I guess. I mean, JoJo was very popular as a manga, you know, even beforehand. So I'm sure it definitely was, especially in Japan.
なんでだよ。余計なお世話だよ。別に誰にも迷惑かけてないだろ。
かけてる。
Mion said it flat out. This didn't make any sense, and that was really
俺が
irritating.
いつ誰に迷惑をかけたよ。
Mion was at a loss for words, but she finally made up her mind and spoke. Though she stuttered as she said it.
だってさ、ケイちゃん。それ、人のバットだしさ。無断借用は悪いし。
転校した生徒の忘れ物だろ。本人が取りに来るまで借りてるだけだよ。
ああ。まあね。転校したし。
Mion grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie.
でも変わってるよな。兄貴だけ転校なんだろ。妹は転校しなかったんだろ。
Mion couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up.
ケイちゃん。知ってたの？
北条聡。聡子の兄貴だろ。去年、鬼隠しにあって消えた。
Unable to respond to that, Mion fell
レナに
silent.
も言われた。なんで素振りを始めたのかってな。サトシもやってたんだってな。素振り。それも、失踪の直前に。これってさ、お社様のたたりに合う前兆ってわけなのか？
Mion panicked and looked around.
頼むよ、ケイちゃん。お社様の話は迂闊にしないでよ。私はそんなに信じてないからいいけどさ、他のみんなはすごく信じてる。レナなんかやばいくらいに。
やばいくらいに？
とにかく、みんな怖がってるんだよ。もしもこれが悪ふざけならやめな。サトシの真似は絶対にやめて。
I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me knowing that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions.
先に言っとく。俺はサトシのことは何も知らない。みんなが隠してたからな。
隠してたってわけじゃ。
毎年起こる事件のことを隠してたろ。
それは、ケイちゃんを。
怖がらせたくなかったってのか？それが理由で俺だけのけ者かよ。
いや、そんなつもりじゃ。
ミオンに直にダム現場で事件がなかったかって聞いたよな。ミオンはないって言ったじゃないか。バラバラ殺人があったのによ。嘘つき野郎。
ごめん。嘘ってわけじゃ。
仲間ってのは隠し事なんかなしだろ。そうだろ。じゃあお前らは仲間じゃない。
ケイちゃん、そんなのって。
Mion looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mion acting like this.
ああ、それに先日の見舞いのおはぎ、あれうまかったぜ。やったのはどっちだ？お前かレナか？
私。
She admitted it so easily. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy that was.
死ぬかもしれなかったんだぞ。仲間にあんな真似をするのかよ。
そんな、ちょっとしたいたずらじゃん。
Mion gave me a wry smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me.
あれがいたずらで済むかよ。
I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. It was a needle, a sewing needle. If I'd swallowed that and it lodged in my throat, what did she think would happen? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't the Mion Sonozaki I knew anymore.
とにかく、お前は仲間じゃない。仲間じゃない奴の指図は受ける言われはない。俺のことは当分放っておいてもらうぜ。いいな。
Mion wasn't replying
俺を
anymore.
消そうとしても簡単にはいかないからな。 お前らは最初から警察に疑われてんだ。サトシを消せたように、簡単に消せると思うなよ。
I said it clearly. This was my declaration of
俺も
war.
過去の事件は、お前らが怪しいと思ってる。ダムの反対運動の時から、お前が警察の世話になってたことも、よく知ってる。隠しきれてると思うなよ。いいな。
どうして、そんなことまで。
Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for the school. It was time for morning homeroom.
行こうぜ。委員長がいないとまずいだろ。ん？
At that moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks.
ひどいよ、ケイちゃん。
I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty.
俺、行くぜ。ホームルーム遅れるなよ。
I left Mion, still shaking, as I turned around to head for the entrance. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself.
そっか。
She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. But it was a sobbing voice that had a kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her.
ケイちゃんに、全部バラしたの。あの野郎か。
She balled up her fists as tears continued to rain down. She glared at a spot at the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. This transformation, Mion's transformation, was different from
あの
Rena's.
時、殺しとくんだったな。今年で定年だからって、容赦してやった恩も忘れやがって。
Retiring this year. Was she talking about Uishi-san?
ちくしょう。ちくしょう。あのじじい。絶対に殺してやる。
It felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. This was the first time I'd known, no, experienced such a visage.
起立。気をつけ。
Mion made up an excuse for her red eyes, saying there was something wrong with her contacts. After that, neither Rena nor Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Satoko nor Rika-chan looked me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back the way it was. The month since I transferred in had been almost too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling, but today, it felt oddly refreshing. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join in the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hat around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today and the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down, inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly, I knew this would be the last day of this cycle. I couldn't tell how the ending would be, whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless, in my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. It wouldn't give me my answers. Or it could be that the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something. Somewhere mixed in with their shrieks, Tomitake-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I will be amongst the Higurashi fruitlessly crying to the next victim. Glancing down at my feet, I saw a Higurashi on its back, spasming weakly. There was still much of the summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. I couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to try to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once, as if they had huddled together, fearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was also almost non-existent. If the Higurashi hadn't warned me by ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all of my senses. I was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of terror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long, but in this moment, when I needed to be razor sharp, I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Could I get them to pass by me? No. Since I was able to hear their footsteps, they probably also are able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell that I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me, was it Rena, just like yesterday? If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. If it wasn't Rena, it would depend on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, whipped my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once now was waiting for another opening to come at me. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree and at the person following me. My imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Rena. There was a bit of relief as I realized it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. This wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent. Yes, it looked like she was grinning slightly. And in her right hand was a hatchet. I hid myself behind the tree once again and recall the unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror. Laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me to be carrying a bat. But for that hatchet, there was no excuse for that. A hatchet, just like that.
ケイキくん、かくれんぼかな？かな？
My heart was pounding. Hard enough that I had trouble breathing. What little composure I had been able to hold on to was now crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here.
レナを驚かせようとしたのかな？かな？
I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now since there was still space between us, then allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat again, readied myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree.
ケイチくん、見つけた。
Rena was pleased that she found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were just so empty. My legs began to quiver. Not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of viscous, hot, and cold substance began spreading around. If I allowed it, that substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all the organs in my body. Not good. Not good. I'll be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose.
何の用だよ
I blustered, hiding beneath my bravado, but Rena didn't flinch
ケ
one
イチ
bit.
くんと同じ。帰り道だよ。
じゃあそのナタは何だよ
じゃあケイチくんのそのバットは何なのかな？
俺は素振りで
じゃあレナは宝探しなの。
Rena gave a flippant explanation to why she had such a fearsome weapon.
宝探し
ダム現場の宝の山にね、また新しいかいいのを見つけたの。だからね、それを発掘するために必要なの。
信じるかよそんなの
信じないよね。
Rena's laugh was obviously very strange. I'd seen Rena's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and the shrewd glint in her eyes. It wasn't something that roundabout. I'm not sure what to say. It was just so obvious.
待ってよ、ケイチくん。
Rena didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Rena got too close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. This cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you looked at it, I was being chased by Rena and was trying to escape.
ついてくるなよ。
それはできない相談だよ。レナの家もこっちだもん。
When I met with Rena on the road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Rena didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one who was cowering? If the way home for Rena and me was the same, that's fine. I just changed my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. But Rena saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out from my mouth.
どうしてついてくるんだよ。
The tone of my voice was already tinged with
ケ
terror.
イチくんとお話ししたいから。ケイチくんもレナとお話ししたいんじゃないかな。かな。
俺は何も話したいことなんかない。
嘘だよね。相談したいこときっとあるはずだよ。
ない。レナと話すことなんか何もないよ。
嘘だよね。
嘘じゃないよ。
嘘だ。
Rena's scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace.
お話ししようよ、ケイチくん。お話。お話。
Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street?
ケイチくんには悩んでることがあるんじゃないかな。
ないよ。何も悩んでない。
嘘だ。
Even though I was running, even though Rena was walking, why wasn't I getting any farther
わ
away?
かるよ。わかる。レナはわかるよ。怖いんだよね、ケイチくん。
怖くなんかない。何も怖いことなんか。
嘘だ。
My breathing grew heavy and it felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. Rena wasn't even breaking a
レ
sweat.
ナだけは相談に乗ってあげられるよ。今度こそ乗ってあげられる。
I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do.
今度こそ相談に乗ってあげられる。サトシくんの時とは違うもの。
When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. But even as I did, Rena was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop.
サトシくんも悩んでた。辛そうだった。でもレナは相談に乗ってあげられなかった。とても悲しかった。
Where did the street connect to? All these twists and turns, ups and downs. It was hard to believe that this was even remotely in the direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the
サ
window.
トシくんが転校しちゃった時ね、本当に後悔したんだよ。レナが相談に乗ってあげれば、サトシくんは転校せずに済んだかもしれないって、すごく後悔した。
The road led me deeper into the forest. Wasn't I getting farther away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. But despite that realization, my inner self was still disturbingly
だから
calm.
ね、誓ったの。もしもサトシくんみたいに苦しんでる人にもう一度会えたなら、レナが助けてあげようって。もう人が転校するところは見たくないな。
Damn it! What does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up with the same as Satoshi.
さあ、ケイチくん、レナに話して。レナはきっとケイチくんを理解してあげられるよ。レナだけはケイチくんの味方。
I started wheezing, out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were going to explode, and my heart was beating as hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of my swing. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid
悩
thought.
みがなくなれば、きっとケイチくんも元通り。みんなとも仲良しに戻れて、また楽しく部活ができるよ。 今度は一緒に組んでみーちゃんをやっつけようね。
Yeah, how much fun that would be. Rena couldn't even imagine how much I wished I could turn back the clock on those past few
レナ
days.
ともきっと仲良しに戻れるよ。また一緒に宝探しに行きたいね。今度はお弁当も作っていくよ。なんなら今から宝探しでもいいよ。行こうよ。一緒にダム現場。見つけたばかりの可愛いの、ケイチくんにも見せてあげるね。きっとケイチくんも気に入るよ。
Did she like kill someone? My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot on my heels, Rena's steps were sharply breaking twigs underfoot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, being chased by Rena. If she caught me, it was all over. I realized it instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. It didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything. Not yet. That momentarily lapse was all it took. Of all the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath me and I crumbled towards the ground. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used my bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Rena was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Rena was so cool and composed that she could have froze the air all around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all. Rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating.
何が怖いのかな。怯えるなんてケイチくんらしくないよ。
Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. As she admonished me for trembling, Rena's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved up made me feel like I was staring at the godliness of the thousand-armed Buddha. Then as both of her hands met above her head, the hatchet that she held came into focus. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do.
教えてくれ、サトシはどうなったんだよ。
Rena stayed like that, with the hatchet raised above her head, and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend she was to never see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions.
言ったよ。サトシくんは転校したの。
その転校ってのをやめろよ。鬼隠しってことなんだろ。そうだろ。もう教えてくれたっていいだろ。サトシを消したのは誰だよ。レナかミオンか、それとも村の誰かが。答えろよ。
I became frantic the more I screamed, but Rena did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face.
ケイチくんが何を言ってるかわからないな。
じゃあ分かるように言ってやる。連続開始事件の犯人は誰だ。
ケイチくんは勘違いしてるよ。
え？
人間の犯人なんかいない。すべてはお社様が決めることだもの。
お社様のたたりなんて迷信だろ。レナは信じてるってのか。
信じるとか信じないとかじゃない。お社様はいるの。
Rena's gaze grew even more gelid. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question
お
anything.
社様なんているわけが。
ケイチくんは信じないの？お社様。
信じられるはずないだろ。そんなのいるわけがない。
いるよ、お社様。ケイチくんだって身近に感じてるはずだよ。
そんなもの感じたことないよ。
ケイチくんさ、誰かに謝られたことない？それもずっと。
All noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Rena's voice resounded loudly and
それ
terribly.
はね、許してもらえるまでずっとついてくるの。学校へも、お家へも、枕元へも。
I couldn't understand what Rena was saying.
レナのところへも来たんだよ、お社様。だからレナは転校してひなみ沢に帰ってきたの。
I don't understand. I don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Rena saying?
ケイチくんのところにもお社様来てるんじゃない？ きっと相談に乗れるのは私だけ。圭一くんを転校なんかさせないから。ね。
Is this Rena saying this? Or is this him? Rena's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Was Rena saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night I'd heard about that when I asked about Rena.
他言無用でお願いします。
Dude, I'm sorry, but didn't we know that Rena has been saying that Oyashiro-sama, or like that Oishi has been telling us that Oyashiro-sama possesses Rena? Didn't we cover this multiple times?
また内容には一部憶測も含まれているかもしれません。すべてが真実ではないかもしれないということです。よろしいですね。
Oishi-san began speaking.
被害者も学校も告訴していないので、調書がないのです。つまり、警察が関与してないわけなんですよ。ですから、詳細は関係者からの聞き取りのみなのです。つまり、信憑性が高くない。
被害者って言いましたか？レナはガラスを割っただけじゃないんですか？
いえ、男子生徒が3人ほどリュウグウレナに殴られています。金属バットでです。
Wait. When did this happen?
2人はあざで済みましたが、1人は片目に後遺症を残すほどの大怪我をしたそうです。
When did he talk about this? Did I miss this?
それって傷害事件じゃないんですか？警察は逮捕とかしないんですか？
どういうわけか、被害者が告発しないんですよ。警察に届け出がないので。
They were beaten with a bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally there would be a criminal investigation, but why didn't they press
被
charges?
害者の男子生徒3人にもそれぞれ話を聞こうとしましたが、全員口が重いんです。こう言ってはなんですが、怯えてるんですよ。彼女が転校した今でも。
大石さん、話を最初から整理して話してくれませんか？
Rena hit people while she broke the windows? Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different.
某月某日、リュウグウレナは親しい男子生徒3人と一緒にプール倉庫のあたりで話をしていました。
その3人って何者ですか？
個人名は伏せますが、3人ともリュウグウレナととても親しい仲良しグループだったそうです。彼女はこう言ってんだったんですな。
So it wasn't that strange that the four of them were together.
それでどうなったんです？
理由はわかりません。リュウグウレナはプール倉庫脇にあった野球部のバットを手に取り、
There were no witnesses. This was an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. One day after school, Rena and 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather, they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Rena underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them didn't comprehend what was happening. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their heads, she made her way towards the school building. Then she broke the glass windows one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on scene and subdued her.
レナに起こった変化って何ですか
？3人の証言で一致するのは、突然人が変わった、豹変したという点です。
豹変。
I also could recall Rena's transformation. I'd seen that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Rena that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Rena.
その豹変っていうのはたびたびあったことなんですか？
いえ、そういうのは全くなかったそうです。私も調べられる限り、彼女の過去や病歴等を追ってみましたが、見つけることはできませんでした。
そのレナみたいに突然人が変わる現象って結構あるんですか？
もちろんありますよ。精神的なものから性格的なものまでたくさんあります。
では レナには潜在的に表変する要素があったってことですか？
断言はできません。ですが、竜宮レナをよく知る友人たちからの証言では、とても彼女にそういう要素があるようには思えません。
Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in school like she was now. That girl transforming, suddenly assaulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could have seen it coming. I myself sometimes believe that I was mistaken for thinking that was Rena. Even now.
そして、どうなったんですか？
学校の正面が病院でしたので、3人はすぐに病院に担ぎ込まれ、手当てを受けました。
レナは、警察は、どうして警察沙汰にならなかったんですか？
警察は呼ばれなければ関与はできませんからね。
一人は後遺症を残すくらい大怪我したんじゃないんですか？どうして訴えないんです？
私もそこは引っかかりました。何かの圧力、もしくは脅迫があったのか、それとも訴えたくても訴えられない理由があったのか。
もちろん大石さんのことですから調べたんですよね。
ねえ、まあ。ですが、初めに言いましたよね。被害者たちの口がとにかく重いのです。触れたがらないというか、関わりたくないというか。
Reluctant to talk. Didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to be involved. You resemble the villagers here in Oyashiro-sama's curse.
学校の先生とかからは何も聞けなかったんですか？
学校は聖域なんですよ。隠蔽体質とでも言いますか。私も捜査令状を取ってませんから弱いんですよね。
じゃあ、学校側はノーコメント？
いえ、事件の存在自体を否定しました。ですが某日、間違いなく病院に3人の男子生徒が打撲で担ぎ込まれたのは事実なんです。病院にその記録が残ってますので。
被害者は語らず、学校は否定する。何もわからないじゃないですか。
ねえ、その事件があったという事実以上のことは何もわかりません。被害者たちもこの事件が公になることを望んでいませんので、私と前原さん、私たち2人が忘れれば、事件はそのまま闇に消えるでしょうな。
So, it's very, very weird. I can't think of why, like, I'm guessing that the reason why they, like, there was something about Oyashiro-sama that was brought up in the conversation, if I were to guess, that made them not want to, and then something about that entire conversation made them not want to bring it up, meaning that they're still scared of whatever could happen to them. That it's not, like, it's not Rena, but it's whatever curse they're worried about. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by roiling waves, sinking quietly into the void, as if it never existed to begin with.
学校を謹慎で休学します。そしてその間、神経科医のカウンセリングを受けました。
その医者からは何か聞けたんですか？
これがまた職業倫理のしっかりした尊敬すべき方でしてね。口が固いんですよ。もうとにかく。
警察手帳を見せてもダメなんですか？
書面で申請しろと言われました。手帳自体に法的拘束力は何もありませんからね。
じゃあ、大石さんはどうやってレナがお社様のことを告白したことを知ったんですか？
一部を聞いてた看護師さんがいましてね。この方は手帳を見せただけで協力してくださいました。
それで、なんと？
Turns out that the nurse hadn't heard everything. Apparently, all that she remembered was what she overheard from inside the
看護
room.
師さんが言うには、その時の竜宮レナはとても淡々としていて、落ち着いていたそうです。
It was more like she was confessing her sins at church than a counseling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session between the doctor and Rena for a while.
例のお社様の話はどこで出てきたんですか？
途中です。その名前を突然叫んだのです。だから看護師さんもびっくりして聞き耳を立てたのです。
Hmm.
お社様です。
Rena suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what was said before that, so I had no idea what the meaning behind it could have meant. The doctor calmly and collectedly asked Rena to have a
その
seat.
お社様というのは何ですか？
Gently, ever so gently. Fundamental part of counseling is to be good, patient listener.
ひなみ沢を捨てた人は必ずお社様に追われるんです。そしてとうとう私のところにも来たんです。
竜宮さんが今のお家に引っ越される前に住んでいた町ですね。
私は引っ越したくなかったけど、お母さんとお父さんの都合で仕方なく引っ越しました。でもお社様は許してくれなかったんです。
竜宮さんはきっとひなみ沢にもお友達がたくさんいたんでしょうね。今でも懐かしいんじゃないですか？
帰りたい。ひなみ沢に帰りたい。帰りたいんじゃない。帰らなきゃいけない。本当はもっと早くに帰らなきゃいけなかった。でももうダメ。お社様が来てしまった。
お社様というのはそのひなみ沢の神様なんですね。
誰でも知ってるひなみ沢の守り神様なんです。それでひなみ沢を捨てて出て行こうとすると罰を当てるんです。
竜宮さんが引っ越しをされたのはもうずいぶん前ですよね。では今になってその神様がやってきたということですか？
信じないでしょうけど、お社様はいるんです。
That nurse was then asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. That was all she remembered.
お社様がか。
確かにひなみ沢にはそういう迷信があります。里を捨てて出ていくとお社様の罰が当たるという。この辺りは前原さんもすでにご存知ですよね。
I knew very well what those scorned by the village incurred. To hinder the dam construction project, they caused the construction foreman to his death. They cursed him to his death. And for the following year, Satoko's parents, supporters, and leading advocates for the dam were cursed to their deaths. But this was the first time I've heard of the curse incurred by leaving the village.
初耳です。村の外敵がたたられるのはわかりますが、どうして出ていく村人まで。普通出ていくものはたたられないものじゃないんですか？
I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that people who come in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. Curses weren't something to chase after people that leave, were they? Uishi-san pondered for a bit over on the other end of the receiver, then began speaking again.
ひなみ沢が大昔鬼ヶ淵と呼ばれていたという話はしましたよね。
I hope there's a pausing point soon, because I am going to have to go, unfortunately, in a few minutes, but we'll see. I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of demons.
ふもとの村人たちは鬼たちを崇めていました。で、鬼ヶ淵は神聖な土地なので絶対に不可侵。むやみに立ち入るとお社様のたたりがあるとされてきたんです。
Those who set foot in Onikakushi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I can understand that.
それはわかります。でも出ていくのまでダメってのは。
鬼たちもまたですね、属性に出ていかないようお社様に厳しく見張られていたんだとか。つまりお社様っていうのは属性と鬼ヶ淵の交流を禁じていたんでしょうな。
I see. I finally understood what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was.
つまりお社様ってのは守り神ってよりも監視者なんですね。この地を外界から隔離しようとする。
そんな感じになるんでしょうな。すみません、私も詳しくないんです。この辺りはばあ様の受け売りでして。
I could understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came to Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So, because Arena originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being
つまり
cursed.
レナは望まない引っ越しをしたためお社様のたたりにあったとそう話しているわけですか。
要約するとそういう意味なんでしょうな。
Oh, and Keiichi moved here, so I wonder what's gonna happen to him then.
実際この後しばらくしてひなみ沢に引っ越していますから。
Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then, why only Rena? Shouldn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and have been cursed? Also, in this day and age, in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then that'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there'd be one person dying and one disappearing on the day of the Watanagashi. I don't like saying at most, though.
まあとにかくわからないことだらけなんですよ。お社様のたたりがどうだったにせよ、クラスメートを金属バットで殴った理由にはなりませんし、被害者が訴えない理由にもなりません。まさか前原さんも恐ろしいたたりが起こって、
Yeah, I think that's
被害者たちがすくみ
exactly
上
the
が
thing.
ったなんてこと信じるわけないですよね。
Of course, I didn't want to believe it. But more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rena made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with the metal bat right before he disappeared, just like me. Then Rena as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon which she had used at the time of that horrendous act was, again, a metal bat. And finally me. I'd encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding onto a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. Had the same thing happened to Rena? But there was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rena was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally me. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rena, Satoshi, and finally me. Could it be that I was really under Oyashiro-sama's curse right now? No, more importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. Rena was fine. Fine? Rena had undergone a change. I can only believe that there was something that wasn't Rena residing within her. And here right now, it was standing before me.
レナ、教えてくれ。
So, I feel like this is obviously not the best spot to end, but I feel like this is the best spot right now, because it's a transition. Because it's not like a new dialogue is starting. I feel like if I have to go in at the start of a new dialogue, or a new conversation, it would be... I don't know how long that's gonna take. Spooky Rena, yeah, I think this is where we have to leave off, unfortunately. Decent spot, yeah. So we'll save here right now. And I think... What's the difference between saving here and quick save? Oh no, I can only load, I can't save here. You should finish tomorrow. Yeah, seems like it. I think this is a pretty good spot to... I mean, not a pretty good, but it's an okay spot to end off, so... Tomorrow, I'm, interested to see where this goes. Wish I could have finished today, but yeah. Thoughts? So I've always thought that it was a curse, and I just, after everything's been happening, I think just more and more it's just a curse. Like, I don't see how it can't be a curse, personally. Yeah. But, I mean, especially with how they're acting, you know? I think, if anything, it's just Rena being possessed. Mion, I don't think she believes in it. Satoko and Rika, we really have no clue on them. Because they have always acted normal around us. They have not talked or spoken weirdly around us, or like possessed or anything. We've only seen Mion a bit, and I don't even think her that second time was her actually going like evil mode or whatever. I think that was her just being angry in general. I think her eyes being red and everything, that wasn't like... I think that's just her being angry in general. Yeah, they're really not around now. Yeah, it seems like it. I did feel like... I will say, the entire scene yesterday and today, I still do feel really bad for them. I think that they're like they are still trying to be genuine. Like Mion, Rena, Satoko, Rika. I think they all are still being genuine. I don't think Rena wishes to kill him personally right now. I know she has the hatchet, but I really don't think she's trying to kill him personally. I mean, she didn't kill those other people, right? Those other guys. She just assaulted them, but she didn't kill them. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Because I think they do still... But I just don't understand. I'm guessing that they didn't want to tell him because it has something to do with the curse. Yeah, I would still say so, but I still think that first, just assaulted. I mean, just assaulted is being better than killed. Yeah, I mean, it is spooky, but it's more like in the creepy aspect. The actual, like, scary part, like that where, like, I was genuinely scared that, that first day. When, like, that Rena yelling lies, Usoda, that was, that very first time, I even played it back, yeah, like, they made that first one have, like, power to it. Like, they amplified the audio mixing for it. Like, it was really good, I think. And then the entire thing with, when Mion and Rena came by and gave the mochi, that was also pretty spooky, I would say. But right now, it's just generally very creepy, is the vibe I would give. So not, like, necessarily just, like, scary, but it's, like, I guess unsettling is the best word. Yeah. Okay. Well, I am going to go right now. I also have the screen up, so I don't need to look at Rena's face, because, like, in full screen, because this is not a good... yeah, I just don't want to be staring at that, so, yeah. That'll be it from me, then, for today. Thank you to everyone who stopped by the stream. I appreciate it. And I will be back with more Higurashi. Hopefully the end of the chapter tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. And have a good rest of your day / night / evening / afternoon / whatever. Alright, goodbye, everyone.